Hey there, you're listening to Rock Made to Metal on Radio Caley with myself, Ian Burley, and right now I'm with some of the guys from the band Fearless Vampire Killers. How about you guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Drew. I play bass guitar.
I'm Lawrence. I play vocal guitar.
So what are you guys doing right now in Glasgow?
We're about to play the O2 Academy, which is going to be exciting because it looks like a nice old place. It's one of those places that wasn't built to be a music venue, which makes it even more interesting.
It's the architecture basically is amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool one. It's like the old theatres that.
It's got more character and stuff because usually they're a bit faceless backstage, and they mould into one. So this one's quite cool because it is like a maze to get to the food. So it really makes you work for it.
You make it sound like lab rats all over, and I'm kind of really trying to swing it through. But anyway, kind of going a wee bit back on track anyway. I was kind of want to talk about the band. I mean, like, you're kind of open up as a support as well too, and I was just kind of want to talk a wee bit about it. What we've got here is too, and I was just kind of want to talk a wee bit about it. What we've got here is you're kind of like a theatrical rock kind of band as well too. Anyway, do you mind explaining that kind of style for us if you don't mind?
I don't know. I guess we just try and make our music more interesting than other people. I think the idea of the theatrics is just us trying to fit more than just standard chord structures and singing in a sort of mid-Atlantic accent about girls. So I think we're trying to do something more, and that's where the theatric comes into it.
Yeah, we're just trying to squeeze a lot of things into. I think it just comes out theatrical because we've got short attention spans. I think we're just trying to stick so much in that it kind of goes on this little journey of genre and sort of tone and stuff, which some people are just like, what the hell
I think for years a lot of rock bands, especially British rock bands, have taken their sort of public for granted and expected that they just want to hear verse, chorus. And I think our intent is to kind of break away from that and provide them with something that's slightly more interesting than just your bog standard pop song.
I'm Danielle and I'm 15, and Fearless Vampire Killers are one of my favourite bands, and I've travelled to see them in Southampton and other places in England. I've seen them a few times in Scotland. What influences your music, and who's your biggest inspiration in music?
Well, we're massive into films, really. So obviously stuff like Tim Burton and stuff like that really kind of inspires. Even spaghetti westerns and stuff. Our music especially is really inspired by spaghetti westerns. I grew up watching a lot of spaghetti westerns. We even modelled our style partly on spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, it's almost like we could just if we kind of let ourselves, we could end up kind of just being that. I think basically just like love it. I think any time we want to come up with like a riff or an epic intro, I think it just spells like Ennio Morricone sort of spaghetti western soundtrack. So.
And then obviously we're really into sort of people like David Bowie, and he kind of wrote the book when it comes to theatrics in rock, I suppose.
I don't think anyone. No one's really touched. I don't think anyone's really come close since Bowie on that sort of scale. No one's made that kind. We want to. I mean, if we can make half the impact that he did with his sort of, whether it's just Ziggy or if it's Diamond Dog's toy, kind of the chameleonic style.
Yeah, and he was
David
a kind
Bowie's amazing.
He was like an actor on stage. He was a mime artist and stuff like that. And we try and. With my performance as a singer, I try and bring some of that into it. I try and tell a story through what I'm actually doing, not just what I'm saying as well. Yeah.
But then it's also buffered by that kind of, because we love those sort of straight rock punk bands, that sort of just that aggressive theatricality that's not kind of, it's almost like improvisational sort of. You just feel it and you go for it. So it's kind of these little elements of theatrical sort of storytelling, like Beveridge says, where you're trying to show something they almost mime, but then it's kind of surrounded by all this chaotic guitar smashing, head banging, jumping up and down.
It's a mix of everything. It sounds like trying to look at David Bowie cross, like Billy Talent kind of idea there, almost a wee bit,
Yeah, man.
That's a good one.
That's a good genre meld. I think we're big fans of these sort of splicing two things together.
All the best bands always do that, There's like all the biggest bands have spliced genres together.
Yeah. Whether it's like the Beatles doing like old rock and roll and Glenn Miller tunes, and then sort of Bowie taking those sort of art house, classical ideas and kind of
slapping them together with glam rock.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's kind of good as well too, because it kind of answers one of the things. Well, before coming in here, I was outside and asking some of the fans some questions that they may want to talk to you about, and I'm not going to lie to you, some of the questions they thought of are better than the ones I've thought of here, so that's actually quite nicely.
Who else influences your clothing style?
Yeah, well, like, you know, as we said earlier, you know, sort of spaghetti westerns were the ones that kind of made us think that we should start kind of wearing waistcoats and stuff like that slightly more. You know, we've always dressed like it, though. It's never been really considered like idea. You know, we never thought, okay, let's start dressing like that. We always, like mine and Drew's old band, self-titled, we just wore shirt and tie, you know, because we kind of felt that in order to get on stage, you sometimes do need to put on some sort of armour, you know. And I don't know. Yeah,
I think contemporary-wise, when we first started bands, it was stuff like, I guess Green Day was a big influence because I mean it was the American Idiot phase where they came forward that kind of punk meets smart casual look, and then also the sort of the old tradition of like the 60s band like the Kinks and Beatles, who were like massively influential, and that kind of that very traditional sense of going up and being entertainers and, you know, presenting yourself in a certain way. But then we thought it kind of works when you know, subvert it with being really kind of messy and chaotic and then looking really pristine. So it's quite a nice juxtaposition.
Yes, you're saying quite a message there as well too. You know, like kind of the pristine can still be crazy and a bit wild at the same time. You know, wild's not the right word in a sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's like I think, in a way, we didn't want to go too far into the idea that we had to look like we were rebels or something. We didn't want people to, you know, because the best way of rebelling is not kind of dressing the way you think you should dress if you're a rebel. It's about, you know, twisting the system, and one of those things is wearing a suit and a tie and singing about, you know, preachers, you know, molesting kids. You know, that's something that really hits the mark there. You know, because people aren't expecting it. Some of our fans probably don't even realise what we're singing about half the time.
Well, just for the record, are you singing about that?
yeah. Well, it's the songs are dark. They're set in a dark world. You know, they're about dark subjects. You know, and I think, you know, but luckily, you know, we do sugarcoat it. So just in case, you know, they don't want to hear that much, you know. Sorry, they don't.
No, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah. Our songs are pretty dark. Yeah. There's one on the next album the next mini album thing that's really dark. I probably can't talk about on the radio.
Can they talk about it on radio?
Yeah.
Well, actually, we'll be talking about it a bit because that actually relates to another question they were asking.
Your new album's coming out soon. Any special events for it, and how are you feeling about it?
Well, I think we promised people we'd do a free gig, so I think we have to do a free show at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we did when the album came out, we did this thing we called Party at Yenville, where we just played a really small club in London, did like a free show for fans and played the whole album, and that was really good fun. So I mean, we'd love
60 people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that seemed so massive. That was awesome.
But we had to cancel like a show before Christmas for various reasons, and we kind of promised people that we try and make it up to them somehow. So we're going to try and do that, and like we're definitely going on tour, and I really want to play the whole mini album on tour, you know, maybe even back to back, you know, in between our hits, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just need to relearn it.
I'm not gonna lie, any band doing something like that would sound amazing as well too. So hopefully you guys do it. I mean, that sounds amazing. Yeah. Another question though, and I found this one interesting because
everyone has full-time jobs except from Keir. How do your colleagues feel about your careers and music?
He's got a full-time job as well.
We've all got full-time jobs.
Yeah, he likes to pretend that he doesn't.
It's because he doesn't do any work, but it seems like he hasn't got a full-time job.
No, like, it's rubbish, you know. It's just one of those things. It's terrible. But you got no choice, you know. If we didn't have jobs, we wouldn't be able to finance the band, and we'd be lost.
To do the band,
you know, we don't get paid to play gigs. You know, you get paid nothing. So something's got to fill the petrol tank. Something's got to pay the rent. You know, it's one of those things. Like it's like it's a stark world. You know, if we're not on a label, no one wants to put us on their label, so we have to do it ourselves. And there's cool things about that, because one day we're going to make loads of money. But at the moment, for 5 years, we've been completely living in squalor, sharing beds, you know.
All overdrawn.
Yeah, like all overdrawn. We all live on this tour. We live in our van, you know. Like the one night we did have a hotel room, like we were on the floor, you know, without a pillow, you know. It's just like, yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. But that's what rock and roll is nowadays. Rock and roll isn't glamorous anymore. And once people realise that, it'll suddenly become glamorous again, because what will happen is it will all come in a full circle. Because, you know, back in the 60s, rock and roll wasn't glamorous. They said that guitar bands were out. You know, that was 50 years ago. You know,
I mean, it's all cyclical, isn't it? I mean, you just look at it. It's kind of, you come in, like rock and roll comes in vogue, and then it goes out again. But then some sort of shitty pop comes in and replaces it, and then and then people get sick of it, and they need something a little bit more edgy.
And the thing is, you know, when you look at like a show like this, you know, there's 1,000+ kids coming out to watch bands play, and you know, these are young kids, and that's the future of rock. You know, these people kids still want to go and see rock bands. You know, they just, you know, they need more stimulation than just 4 guys in t-shirts on the stage. That's not enough anymore. It doesn't, like, who cares if you've got good songs? There's a million bands with good songs. You need something more. And so having, you know, to work full time almost kind of, I think that fuels our fire a bit more. A lot of bands are too comfortable. You know, a lot of bands split up from the pressures of touring. What pressures of touring? You know,
touring's the luxury.
Yeah, touring's the luxury in comparison to, you know, getting up at 7 a.m, going and sitting in an office and taking calls from miserable people all day,
and then coming home and working full time in the band. So you don't really get a break, you know. Kind of,
this is a
break. This is the most relaxed we've been in probably probably a year.
Yeah, exactly.
You make it sound, well, it is kind of glamorous. I mean, obviously people don't say it's glamorous, but it's still that kind of glamorous lifestyle, being able to travel about. But am I good on time, by the way? Sweet. Want to make sure. You've still got kind of that glamour lifestyle, but like, how is it? Like, I mean, how do you kind of balance it out? Like, how, because it must be hard to make sure that you're not like too much in one camp or the other. Kind of, how do you kind of balance that life out?
It's like a train wreck. I mean, we at the moment, we don't know if we're gonna be able to keep our jobs, like, at the end of this month, you know. You know, as soon as we say to our work that we need to get more holiday, we're gonna, I don't know, we don't know what's gonna happen. So it's really literally
we're literally on like the cusp of that, you know, that kind of tipping point where it's at its most difficult, because you're not quite making enough money on music, and you can't realistically keep your job for too much longer, because you need to put more time into everything that's happening. So it's going to be, in that sense, it's going to be a difficult few months, I'd imagine. But also in that way, though, it's a lot better few months, because that's much better. It's much better being in the position where you kind of had to consider, either being fired or quitting your job, or than just being stuck there and going like, I've probably got another year of this or something. So in that sense, it's quite exciting.
Every like year, we were like, okay, by the end of this year, we won't have jobs anymore. And then that was like for 5 years.
It's just like a repeating pattern. It's like it's always on like the cusp of, damn it, I'm gonna lose my job by the end of this month. The next month, damn it, I'm gonna lose my job by the end of the next month.
Yeah, I was like that since I got my job. I think the first week I thought, I'm gonna go lose my job, and it's been about a year and a half now, and it still kept me. I don't know why.
It's all good. At least you'll be able to keep your job and stuff like that as well too. But
Hey there, thanks for listening to part 1 of this feature. You can click part 2 now, it's on the screen, the link should be right there. This was brought to you by Rock Made of Metal, a rock and metal show on Caledonian's university student radio station, Radio Caley. If you want to hear more of this, or you want to hear the full radio show, you can head to www.radiocaley.com from 6 till 8 GMT time, so in the UK. You can also, if you want the website side of things, you can head to www.rockmadeofmetal.wordpress.com, or if you want to go for the social media side of things, you can also head to www.facebook.com/rockmadeofmetal and at rockmadeofmetal for Twitter. Again, thanks for tuning in, thanks for supporting the rock and metal scene, and I hope to hear from you soon.